Welcome back to the channel. This is Trinity Storm and you are watching 11th part of What If Naruto Became a Player. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe to the channel. Now wasting no time, let's start the story.
Naruto looked around his building to figure out where he needed to go and where he was needed the most. Naruto, Karen said as she appeared over the wall at the edge of the roof. What's happening? He answered simply, we're under attack, and sent her an invite right away. What do we do? Naruto's voice was angry, but who could blame him? We find the other newbies, then we go to war and kick the asses of whoever was stupid enough to attack my home. Anyone would feel angry about this. Karen nodded silently. I find the other newbies, Karen, Naruto told her when he stopped her. Karen nodded again, and then she shut her eyes. After a short period of silence. Tenten-san is closest, followed by Sakura-san, Karen said as she opened her eyes and looked to the northwest. Karen was looking right at Higarashi's shop when Naruto nodded. With a quick burst of chakra, Naruto and Karen jumped from one roof to the next, leaving the roof behind. They stopped right next to Higarashi's shop. The windows looked like they were blocked off with lots of sharp, pointy things ready to stab any shinobi who was dumb enough to get too close. So do we knock? Asked Karen. Naruto made a copy of himself and sent it down to the ground with its arms raised. Yo, Higurashi-san, Stabby-chan, you guys here? Hitten called out from inside, Naruto, is that you, my boy? Yeah. Show me, what was the first thing I ever sold you? Some armor, an olive and black jacket, and black pants, said the clone. Hitten said, it's him, to someone inside, likely Tenten. The ground under the clone suddenly opened up, and it fell into a tunnel. The ground above it then closed back up without a seam. Hey, Naruto, what's up? Tenten asked with a smile. The light from a lantern just barely lit up her face. Just a copy, the boss is on the roof of the building across the street. So he sent you to be the sacrifice in case we didn't believe you were who you said you were. That's right. Well, we're trying to put together a team because there are a lot of people out there who need help. Do you want to join us? Dad, you good here on your own? I'm fine, go to your job, Hitten called back. The clone said, all right, I'll dispel to let the boss know, but Tenten stabbed him. No matter how short the clone's life was, Naruto blinked at the rush of memories. When Tenten finally joined Naruto and Karen on the roof, Naruto asked, was that really necessary? Don't ever call me, Stabby-chan, again, or I'll cut you, she told him with a sweet smile. Right, gotcha, Naruto replied. He thought for a second about whether or not he should add Tenten to his game team. It was a risk, but not inviting her might have been a bigger risk. I'll add you to a support genjutsu, he said. Tenten asked, what now? Naruto didn't want to say the same thing twice, so he asked Tenten to come. Ga, what the hell is that? She asked, taking a few steps back, but the floating blue window followed her. I told you it was some kind of special genjutsu, he said. Basically, it lets you play the world like a video game. Hit accept, and let's go get as many of my friends as we can, helping as many civilians and shinobi as we can along the way. Tenten touched the button with trepidation and then blinked a few times. What does this exactly do? Come on, let's go. I'll explain on the way. Sakura is still close, right? Yeah, that's just how she is, said Karen. But I think she's in trouble because her chakra is going down fast. The group moved quickly to find Sakura, and Naruto did his best to explain how the gamer genjutsu worked in a short amount of time. When they found her, she was trying to help someone with medic jutsu while tears fell from her eyes. Karen moved quickly to catch up with her and help in any way she could. We'll protect them while they work, Naruto said, giving Tenten a look. The only answer that was needed was a solemn nod. She's stable, Sakura. We need to move her, Karen said as she stopped her jutsu. Sakura hardly nodded, and her tears kept coming out. When the two girls moved away, Naruto saw that Sakura was treating the woman as if she were her mother. Naruto finally asked Sakura to join the group. He then made a few copies of Sakura's mother to carry her. The group moved quickly to the hospital, and luckily, there was no trouble from the Ambu, who were keeping an eye on the area to make sure no bad guys could get in. Once inside, one of the Irionen quickly grabbed Mebuki and ran out of sight. Do you want to stay here, Sakura? Naruto asked, trying to be thoughtful. She gave a head shake. My dad is still out there. He distracted the Suna Nin and told my mom and me to run. I didn't know my mom was hurt until she fell back there. I should have stayed to help him. I should have. It's okay, we'll go help him now, Naruto said. Hey, Naruto, said Kiba as Shino and Hinata walked in with him. Between him and Shino, they helped Kurenai, who was limping and covered in blood, get to the hospital. You guys okay? Yeah, thanks to Kurenai-sensei, Kiba said in a serious tone. Is she okay? She is fine, you overprotective brats, Kurenai said. There was a bloody cut on her forehead and a few cuts from her shoulder to her ankle on her right side. No, sensei, you need to go to the hospital, Hinata stuttered. I know, and I would have gotten here eventually, she said, snapping a little at Hinata. Naruto took out a stack of shozen fuda and started putting them on the Junin's cuts, knowing that she probably wouldn't get help for a while since her wounds weren't too bad compared to those of the people who were just starting to come in. Those seals are pretty useful, Kurenai said. I do my best, Naruto said. You have made a big impression on Yuhi Kurenai, so your reputation goes up by 1,000 points. Now, you are friendly. Naruto didn't care about the message and closed it quietly so no one would notice. Leave me with some of those, and I'll finish up, said Kurenai. For now, all of you genin need to go back out there and help get the civilians out. Naruto, you're in charge. Kiba, Shino, and Hinata, I expect you to do what I say, and Naruto, keep them safe. As she had asked, Naruto gave her 10 more fuda. I'll keep them safe, he said. Let's get going. People's lives are in danger, and the longer we hang out here, the more of them die, Naruto told them. He gave them a moment to think about what he said, then he pointed outside and told them to follow him. Now, I'm going to add you 3 to my support genjutsu, Naruto said once they were outside. Shino tilted his head to the side and asked, what is a support genjutsu? This, Naruto said, sending an invite to each of them in silence. Interesting, said Shino, tapping the button with his finger. I guess this looks like the user interface of a video game. How interesting. Hinata was a little scared of it, and she even used her Byakugan to try to see through it, but it didn't work. She finally gave the floating button a soft tap. Ha, this is awesome, said Kiba as he tapped the button and grinned widely. Who would have thought you could do something like this? Dude, really? Even though I just kicked your behind, you're still going to talk down to me like that? Naruto asked, annoyed. Don't worry about it, Kiba. There are more important things happening tonight, so get in line and do what I say. Kiba got a little sad. You're right, now is not the time for this. Good, now our job is to get as many civilians out of harm's way as possible. The most important thing is to get anyone stuck behind enemy lines out first, and then we'll work our way toward the city center. Does that make sense? Then there were a series of nods. Good plan, Naruto, said a voice with a slow drawl as he and his team came out of the shadows. Naruto smiled and invited everyone, including Ino. She almost screamed, what the hell is this? A support genjutsu, replied Naruto. Just press the accept button, and I'll explain how it works on the way. Shikamaru, set up our formation and run through some possible scenarios for where we're going. Troublesome, said the young man. Choji, Naruto, and Kiba, you lead the group. Hinata, I want you on Naruto's hip at all times. If you see anything with your Byakugan, you tell him right away. Karen, Sakura, you follow directly behind them, keep them alive. Shino, Ino, and I will follow them and provide ranged support and damage as needed. That leaves Tenten taking a trail position, stay. As for fighting, our sensors make it very unlikely that anyone will be able to sneak up on us. That means we can attack them straight on and not worry about being caught off guard. Even though our mission is to get civilians who are stuck out of harm's way, we can't ignore the fact that fighting is likely to happen. We will probably only have to fight as Chunin and Genin. The Junin will fight other Junin, and they'll make the biggest push into the village. Meanwhile, the Chunin will try to clean up any civilians or injured shinobi, leaving their Genin squads to bring in supplies and get the injured out. The worst part is that we can't let any injured shinobi escape. We can't pay for them to get treated and come back to the fight. I know it's a pain and none of you want to do it, but we don't have a choice. In the same way, their Genin can't finish their missions. They can be killed or captured, just be aware of the situation. Shino said, we're not in a good place to take prisoners because we'll be with civilians, who are easy and tempting targets for any Genin, captured or not. I don't like it, but I agree with Shino, Naruto said with a frown. Even though he had done it a few times, killing people was never something he enjoyed. Anyway, from what I've heard since we got here, Suna and Otto are coming to take over. Be careful of futon jutsu and the mishmash of the Otto nin, because I don't know if they have any connection. Sound, Naruto said. Those genin who took the exam used sound-based techniques, or at least most of them did. Shikamaru said, okay, so Kiba and Akamaru, watch out for that. We don't want you to get hurt without reason. Do you have any last questions? Ino asked. Why are you and Naruto in charge? Shino said, Kurenai-sensei put Naruto-san in charge. Why? It's likely that Naruto-san will be promoted to Chunin rank when the exams are over, which means he can lead a group of shinobi. Shino's explanation was direct and to the point, even though he spoke in a strange way. Ino gave one nod. Okay, but how does this support genjutsu work? I'll explain on the way. First, we're going to Sakura's neighborhood. It's mostly civilians who live there, and we know there have been fights there. Naruto and the other genin jumped up on the nearest rooftop and led the way. Hinata stuttered softly, we need to move to the left, because there are 4 Junin fighting on the right. Naruto nodded and turned the way Hinata told him to. It took them a while to get through the village. Sometimes they stopped to clear out a building that was close to where the fighting was happening. When they did, they would have to go back until they were far enough away from any fighting to send the civilians to the shelters at the base of the Hokage monument. Even though progress was slow, it was necessary, especially since there was fighting so close by. After almost an hour, they were finally able to get into the more active areas. The first place they looked was near Sakura's house, but all they found was a dead Suna nin. That's the one who attacked us, so my dad is still alive, she said with relief. That's good. Do you see any signs of life around here? Naruto asked Karen and Hinata as he looked at them. Hinata, whose skin was already light, said, no, see some civilians over there. What's that? Some Auto shinobi are pulling them out of their home, Hinata said as she turned off her Byakugan and closed her eyes. Karen, let us in, Naruto said. It was clear from Hinata's face that she saw something more than just bad. It took Naruto's team less than a minute to find the attackers, and even less time for all of them to swarm over them like locusts. Naruto told Sakura and Karen to cover the women and get them ready to move. Everyone else, make a circle around our medics while they work. Hinata said, there is still a child in the house. It looks like his mother was able to hide him before. I'll go get him. The group didn't have to wait long before they were ready to go again. Hinata, do you see any other civilians around? 2 houses over, there are 2 kids hiding, but their parents are gone. Kiba, you and Akamaru need to go get those kids. When you bring them out, make sure to cover their eyes. Kiba gave a serious nod and moved quickly to finish the job. Ino said, there are so many people, how could anyone do this? Greed, hate, and fear are all things that could lead to war, Shikamaru said. A group of shinobi is coming right at us, said Karen. I think they might have a sensor because they were going west of us and then turned around and came right at us. So an ambush is pointless, said Shikamaru. We'll have to face them head-on. Sakura, Hinata, Shino, and Choji, stay with the civilians and protect them. Help them and anyone else you find get out of this area. We'll be back as soon as we can. Okay, so the people coming for us are probably Chunin, and there are 4 of them, Karen said. 1 is running on the roof above them, and the other 3 are running between buildings and alleys. About anything else, I'm not sure. You heard the lady, let's go say hello, Naruto told them. Tenten, take out the one on the roof. He's probably a spotter. Kiba, Akamaru, use that Garoga thing as soon as they come in. You might hit one of them, but at the very least you'll separate them. Shika, stay with Kiba, he might need some time to recover after his technique ends. You 2 will work together to take out the one who ends up closest to you. Sakura, Ino, tag team whoever ends up closest. No one said a word as they moved to carry out Naruto's plan. Kiba and Akamaru turned into the huge wolf with 2 heads and led the way. If the situation wasn't so serious, the almost funny look on the faces of the Chunin when they turned the corner and saw them would have made them all laugh until they died. Garoga. Kiba Akamaru yelled, and he turned into a twister of death and destruction right away. They tore down the narrow street, ripping up the stones as they went. This got the invaders to go their separate ways. Then, One of the fools tried to attack the twister by jumping at it, but he was torn to pieces in a matter of seconds. Shikamaru stayed close to Kiba, so when the group of shinobi got to the other side of them, they were stuck between them. Shabu Yuraku LV-29. Dari Baku LV-31. Naruto could see the names of the two, and he could faintly hear steel clanking and clanging above him. Tenten was clearly interested. Yuraku yelled, "Fucking kids. We were chasing after some kids, fucking kids?" "Shut up, Yuraku. Those kids just killed Rangu. Don't underestimate them." Yuraku was furious. "You fucking puss, Baku. I'll kill them all myself." The man started to run forward, but then stopped and looked around for a moment. Baku moved quickly and threw a shuriken at Yuraku. It hit him in the arm and jarred him out of the genjutsu Sakura was trying to put on him. "You jerk, why did you do that? You almost got caught in a genjutsu," snapped Baku. "Now pay attention," he said. Yuraku growled and then turned to deal with the problem. "Hey, you two idiots," Naruto said to get their attention. "I'd like to kill you right now if you stop fighting." "Ha!" Yuraku yelled. "As if some wet behind the ears brat is going." Yuraku was about to say more, but a shadow clone came out of the ground and stabbed him in the back of the head with a kunai, killing him right away. Shikamaru told Sakura and Ino to go up and help Tenten because we can handle this person. "Che," Baku said with a tongue click. "Some fucking kids, huh? Well, I guess I'll have to take you seriously." "It's already too late," Shikamaru said with a smirk as a bit of moonlight broke through the clouds to shine on his face. Naruto and Kiba both knew what was going on, so they both ran forward. Naruto is holding his chakrata, and Kiba is holding Shiro Sume. Kiba's claws tore Baku open, and Naruto's knives cut his throat as they passed on opposite sides of him. Baku's blood loss killed him in a matter of seconds. Just as the fight was over, Tenten, Ino, and Sakura all jumped off the roofs. "Easy as pie," said Tenten with a happy smile. "You get way too much joy out of stabbing people," said Ino. "Yeah, so? Let's go, we need to catch up with the others," Naruto said in a serious tone. Within a minute, Naruto and his group joined up with the genin who were leading the civilians out of the area. There didn't seem to be much fighting in the area, or the fighting had moved to a different place. Karen told Naruto, "This area is empty. I can't feel anyone else here." "So everyone has left then? Or there is just no one left alive," she said with sadness. "Okay, then we'll move on to the next area," Naruto said. "Where do you think there are still the most civilian signatures?" "That way," she said, pointing east, right in the direction of where the Suna delegation was living. "I was afraid of that," Naruto replied. "Okay, guys and girls, when we get to that area, it's probably going to get really dangerous. Gaara is probably over there, and if he is, I'll have to fight him again." Kiba asked, "So, why can't you just use your seals again?" "I'll try, for sure. But once he and I start fighting, you all need to keep going with the mission. Shikamaru is in charge, and he'll get you all out of this mess alive. Got it?" His friends didn't argue with him because they knew what was going on. The goal was to save lives. "I'm staying with you," Sakura told him straight out. "You might need someone to help heal you as you fight." Naruto frowned and was about to argue, but he could tell by the way she looked that she was dead serious. "Fine, but keep your distance and be safe." Sakura nodded. "Alright, let's go," Naruto said as he took the lead and moved the group forward. "Stop," said Hinata when the group was still a block away from the target area. "What's that?" "I don't see a way through," she said with a small stutter. "There is fighting going on all around us, but especially right in front of us." "Troublesome," Shikamaru grumbled. "Can you see any good matches? Are there any groups that are likely to be too strong for the invading shinobi, so that even a little help from us would be enough to get us through?" She pointed to their left and said, "There are 10 Chunin and 1 Junin fighting 6 Chunin and 2 Junin over there, but I'm not sure who will win." "Then there are 2 Ambu over there fighting 1 Junin," she said, pointing to her right. "We help the Ambu," Naruto said. "Don't attack unless you're sure you can win. Only use ranged attacks, and for Kami's sake, don't hit the Ambu. After we help the Ambu, we might be able to get them to help that larger group." "Troublesome," Shikamaru said once more. "Okay, if we're going to do this, let's be smart about it. Number 1, we don't get close to the enemy. Number 2, we don't get close to the enemy. Number 3, Ino, don't try to take over the enemy. We can't afford to carry around dead weight if you miss, or worse, take over one of the Ambu and get them killed. Number 4, Hinata, I want you with Tenten while we do this. Okay, we'll use a two-pronged attack to try to catch them between us. Naruto, Sakura, Shino, and Kiba, you'll take the left prong, and Ino, Choji, Karen, and I will take the right prong. You heard the man, Naruto told him. Let's go now before someone finds us and decides they want to kill us. The group split into 3 smaller groups. Tenten and Hinata stayed where they were, with Hinata keeping her Byakugan active and watching. Naruto led his group through the alley, making sure to stay to the left of the 2 Ambu members. Once they were right below the fight, he put his fingers together to stop and start a silent countdown. As soon as his fist closed, ending the countdown, the group jumped up to the roof. Neko LV? Tora LV? Baki LV? Even though Yugo's name and level were hidden by her Ambu mask, Naruto recognized her purple hair right away. The other Ambu might have been Hayate, but there was no easy way to tell, and it didn't matter anyway. Naruto's Futon. Kei's no Yeba no Jutsu, shot straight at Baki while his teammates tried their best to hit the surprised Junin with kunai, water bullets, rock bullets, or fireballs. Baki was surprised at first, but he didn't stay that way for long. He quickly moved out of the way of the slow-moving jutsu and into the way of the Ambu. The 2 Ambu members kept coming at the Junin with their swords, putting the man on the defensive. The Suna Junin hit Tora in the chest with a hard kick, which knocked him to the ground. Then, he dodged a cut from Neko that was way too strong and would have cut off the man's head if it had hit. Baki ran toward the downed Ambu to finish him off, but he lost his balance when the whole roof started shaking. Naruto swayed a little as he stood on the shaky rooftop, trying not to fall off or down. When I quickly looked over the roof, I saw a giant Choji foot stomping. It helped Tora stay alive. As soon as the shaking stopped, the fight between the Junin and the Ambu started up again. If the sneer was any indication, Baki's face showed that he was annoyed. He flicked his fingers at the outsiders to get them out of the way, but his attack was stopped when the blonde genin did the same thing. Then there was a loud screeching sound as the wind from the 2 attacks cancelled each other out. The Junin stopped in his tracks when he suddenly felt something pierce his side. He was shocked to see a blade sticking out of the left side of his stomach when he looked down. You should have stayed to make sure I died, the Ambu said in his ear. Baki tried to attack with his own sword, but Neko's blade blocked it. The attack on Neko's partner was easily blocked by her parry. She then used a quick flick of her blade to cut off the Suna Junin's fingers. The blade fell to the roof and clattered uselessly, out of Baki's reach. Tora pulled his blade sideways out of Baki's stomach, which opened him up. He then drove the blade back in, cutting the man's spine and killing him right away. He finally kicked himself in the back, which freed the blade again and let the Junin fall to the roof. When the fight was over, Naruto could not help but let out a sigh of relief. Genin, come here, Neko said in a harsh voice. The 12 Genin got together quickly for the Ambu, and then Hinata and Tenten joined them. Explain? We were told to help get civilians out of the way, Naruto replied. We got stuck trying to get into this area. We had to choose between helping you or helping a larger group. I chose to help you because I thought that helping you would end your fight much faster than helping the larger group. For a moment, neither Neko nor Tora said anything. Where is this bigger fight going on? About 6 blocks that way, nervously replied Hinata. We will help them, and you should keep going with your mission. And in an instant, the 2 Ambu were gone. Bonus for completing an objective, 250,000 express. Quest alert. Save Konoha. The village is being attacked, so do everything you can to protect it and its people. Objectives. Get a group of people to help you defend the village. Help 50 civilians get to safety. 32 50ths. Kill 20 of the people who are trying to invade. 11 20ths. Defeat Shukaku. Goals for extras. Help Hayate and Yugo get rid of Baki. Award for completion, 1 million express. 250,000 express per bonus objective. Failure to finish. The Konoha was destroyed. People were locked up, tortured, and killed. The window was shut by Naruto. Let's get back to work, guys. Once the group got past the front lines, it was easy to look for civilians and get them out of the area. Even as they were leaving the area, the fighting seemed to have either slowed down a lot or started up again. Uzumaki Naruto! Yelled a crazy voice, and all the genin turned to look. He was on top of one of the taller buildings in the area, looking down at Naruto and his group. Uzumaki Naruto, I've been waiting for you. Mother wants me to kill you. Sand bullets suddenly started flying at the group, and the poor civilians who were with them didn't have a chance. Go. Get them out of here, Naruto said, pointing down the alley as he jumped onto the roof to face Gaara. You want me, come get me. Naruto teased the boy, making it easy for him to leave his team and come after Naruto. Gaara was hot on Naruto's trail, so he left the village quickly. He didn't care about the fighting going on around him. All he wanted was to get Gaara out of the village. If his quest was right, he would have to fight Shukaku, and a rampaging Biju in the middle of downtown Konoha was the last thing he or the village needed. You're a coward. If you fight me, I'll give your blood to my mother. Naruto had to keep saying, only if your slow ass can catch me, because he couldn't let Gaara turn around. It was a pain to tie him up like this, but if it saved lives, it was totally worth it. He was almost caught by the sand a few times as he ran. The sand grabbed his belt or his foot, but he got away and kept running and taunting. Once Naruto was far enough into the forest that he was no longer near the village wall, he stopped and turned to face Gaara. Finally done with running? Hey, I just wanted to make sure we could fight without any interruptions, Naruto said. Liar, you were afraid of what I might do to the village, Gaara said, making his evil grin even bigger. But that's okay. It just makes it more fun. First, Mother takes your blood, then she takes the blood of everyone else. I don't think so, Naruto said as he looked in his pouch and found it was empty. Gaara held up the lost pouch and asked, looking for this? A second later, the boy's sand swallowed the pouch whole. This time, you won't be able to stop me or my mother. Naruto swallowed nervously. He had just lost all hope of ending this quickly and stopping Shukaku from ever coming out. I guess we'll have to do this the hard way then, he said, pulling his chakra to as soon as he said it. Gaara was the first to attack. He used his hands to make the sand attack. Naruto's chakra to easily cut through the tendrils, which made Gaara lose control for a moment, but only for a moment because the sand quickly reformed and continued its attack. At this point, Naruto didn't see any other way to keep up, so he used Kyuubi's cloak one tail. He had used it earlier in the day, so he was still 27% corrupted, but he didn't have much of a choice if he wanted to stay alive. So, he had about 13 minutes to use the cloak before he could be taken over. He quickly went on the attack. Gaara got a nasty surprise when some of Kyuubi's chakra was added to Futon Hin no Jutsu. It cut through the boy's armor, leaving a deep cut on his arm and a nice trail of blood. You should probably get that looked at, Naruto said. If you don't stop bleeding, you'll die soon enough, so why don't you just pack up and go home? You cut me? How? How do you keep hurting me? It shouldn't be possible. I'll kill you. He screamed. Naruto felt the ground shake a little bit before a big explosion happened below and a huge cloud of sand came up. When he could see again, he was looking right at Shukaku. And there, in the middle of the beast's forehead, was Gaara, glaring at him with hatred and loathing. Oh, hell, Naruto moaned. Because he was still wearing the cloak, his stats were still boosted, so he started the hand seals he would need to beat the Ichibi. Kachiyose no Jutsu. Naruto was suddenly standing above the tree line and could look Gaara in the eyes. He looked down slowly to see who he had called. Gamabunta LV? The giant toad grumbled, what the hell is this? As he let out a big puff of tobacco smoke. I called you, Naruto said in response. Please help me get rid of that guy. Why the hell should I help you? You haven't even been recognized as a subordinate. I know, boss, but Konoha is being attacked, and if we don't stop this guy, the village will be destroyed, Naruto pleaded. Grr. I guess I can help you this once, but the next time you call me, you should be ready to be put to the test. Thank you so much, boss, I'll be ready. Gaara yelled, how interesting. His voice came from both the sand structure and himself at the same time. Tanuki Niri no Jutsu will make mother so happy. Yada. I'm finally out, and I want to kill someone. Naruto was shocked by the sudden change in personality and asked, what the hell is that? The host gave the beast control, and things got a lot harder. The giant toad jumped away from the giant tanuki quickly and shot a few big balls of water at the same time, more to get the giant Tanuki's attention than for any other reason. Gaara, or rather Shukaku, paid no attention to the water, even as it tore chunks out of its body made of sand. Sand, which quickly came back together and filled in the holes. It did do a little damage to the Biju's HP, but it was regenerating at the same rate as the sand. Naruto grumbled, "Oh, this guy is going to be a pain to stop." "Hey, kid, we can't stop the Biju. I'm not that strong. You'd need me and my brothers just to hold him down so he could be sealed away. Our goal is to wake up the stupid brat on his forehead. If we do that, we might have a chance, a slim chance, but a chance nonetheless." "Great, I'm open to suggestions," Naruto shouted back. He didn't know how loud he would have to talk to get the giant toad to hear him. "I don't think you know any fire jutsu, do you?" "No, but I've done, futon, Gamayuden no jutsu, a lot with Kichi. If you know it, we could probably use that to hold the big jerk." "Why didn't you say so? After the next volley, we'll counter with it. I suggest you start channeling futon chakra into me now." Gamabunta dodged the air blasts as planned, which was surprising given how big the toad was. Futon. Gamayuden no jutsu. Futon. Gamayuden no jutsu. The chief's mouth let out a jet of wind-charged oil, which quickly covered the Biju in oil that quickly hardened. The chief toad then took his pipe and flicked it at the Biju, sending the embers flying at the Biju. It only took one spark for the whole beast, including Gaara, to go up in flames. Gaara's scream of pain woke him up, but it also showed that he was back in charge. Still, the animal was giving way under him. He grabbed one of the big paws in a last-ditch effort to get out of the sand building. He flew away from the glowing sand structure, which was now covered by a glowing red glob of melted sand. "Finish the construct boss, and I'll go after Gaara," Naruto said as he jumped off the boss's head without waiting for a response. Naruto followed the Jinchuriki with the glowing glass covering away from the village walls. When he finally did find Gaara, the boy looked very sad. He had sharp pieces of glass stuck in his skin, angry red burn marks, and the beginnings of some very bad burn blisters. All in all, he must be in a lot of pain. Gaara cried out, "How? I don't understand, how could you beat me?" He was leaning heavily against a tree, which must have hurt even more because his back was probably burned. "Because I'm protecting the most important people in my life. Someone once told me that when you have something to protect, you'll become really strong." "You threatened the people I care about the most," Naruto said, lowering his guard. "I think that if it weren't for them, I might have turned out just like you. That loneliness is a terrible burden, isn't it? It pulls at you and tries to break you." "Yes, it is," said Gaara, and the boy seemed to finally fall over, exhausted. "Kachiyose. Kirikiri mai no jutsu." Naruto didn't even have time to try, Doden. Kabe no jutsu, to put up a wall or chakra reinforcement, to at least lessen the damage. Even worse, he was about to turn away from the defeated boy when he was hit by a strong wind that seemed to cut through everything around him. He was getting scared because his own HP was going down quickly, too. He could only turn on and off Kyuubi's cloak as quickly as possible and hope that it would at least keep him alive. And he did just barely make it. He was getting bleed damage of 5,000 every 5 seconds because of her technique, which was crazy. "Stay away from him," a young woman growled. Naruto knew that she was Gaara's sister Temari. She looked fierce as she tried to stand between Gaara and herself as a shield. "So much for having someone important to protect now, huh, Gaara?" "Why Temari?" She answered simply, "You're my brother," as if it should have been the most obvious thing in the world. "But why? After how I've treated you." "It doesn't matter. You and Kankuro are my brothers, and I'm supposed to protect you both, especially when your lives are in danger." Naruto was very happy. With that move, the girl had used up almost all of her chakra, and his corruption was getting worse quickly every time he turned on and off the cloak that was keeping him alive. Gaara tried to stand up and winced as he did so. "It's okay, Temari, we're leaving," he said. "What do you mean we're leaving?" "He almost killed you, we should finish him off while he's hurt," she said, even though she was sweating and breathing hard. "I was just leaving," Naruto tried to say. Right now, he couldn't pay for another fight. "Like we'll let you," Temari yelled back. Gaara said, "Enough. We've lost this fight. We should go back." "But Gaara." "Enough, it's time to go," he told them. Then he turned and looked at Naruto. "I hope we meet again." As friends. Me, too. I don't want to fight you or your sister again, Naruto said, trying not to cause more trouble and maybe even to lighten the mood, which was mostly caused by Temari. Temari frowned, but he ran to Gaara's side to help him and clear the area. Fuck this quest, Naruto grumbled as he turned around and looked back at the village. His level of corruption was almost 96%, and the bleed had just stopped, giving him a short break. Bonus for completing an objective, 250,000 express. Quest alert. Save Konoha. The village is being attacked, so do everything you can to protect it and its people. Objectives. Get a group of people to help you defend the village. Help 50 civilians get to safety. 39 50ths. Kill 20 of the people who are trying to invade. 12 20ths. Defeat Shukaku. Goals for extras. Tak no Jutsu, Sabaku Gaara. Help Hayate and Yugo get rid of Baki. Award for completion, 1 million express. 250,000 express per bonus objective. Failure to finish. The Konoha was destroyed. People were locked up, tortured, and killed. When Naruto pressed the button to get rid of the message, he got another one. Congratulations. Your level has gone up one. Troublesome, Naruto said as he jumped into the trees and started walking back to the village. He still had to get a lot more civilians to safety and kick a few more invaders in the behind. But before he could do any of that, he had to look for his team. Naruto went back over the wall without any trouble. The Konoha shinobi on the wall gave him a few salutes and nods of thanks as he did so. It was clear that his little fight had helped his reputation, which was something he would have to look into later. Karen shouted, "Naruto!" and waved at him from a roof in front of his path. Should have known you'd find me before I could find you, Naruto said as he landed lightly next to her and the rest of his team. I could feel Gaara's defeat, so I thought we should come this way to meet up with you. I hope that was okay, Karen said with a bit of nervousness. Yeah, that's good. Thanks. But we still have more civilians to save. This fight isn't over yet, even though Gaara is out of it. Then let's get moving, barked Kiba jovially. He seemed happier than he had been when the night started. I bet that I can do the most damage with a single hit. Kiba, how would you even prove that? Asked an annoyed Ino, crossing her arms. That game thing, he said, shrugging his shoulders in a weak way. Naruto shook his head once and rolled his eyes before telling his team to move on and follow him. Before the day was over, there was still a lot to do. The large group of genin and the civilians they were helping stopped in their tracks when they heard two loud, thunderous booms. Naruto and Shikamaru, you should both come up here, Tenten said from the roof above. Naruto and Shikamaru didn't even look at each other before they jumped up to the roof. It was clear right away why she had called them. He looked to the west and saw that the hospital was lit up with a fiery orange light. The invading forces had reached the hospital in some way. And to the northeast, fires were raging around the Hokage Tower, which was also lit up by a strange purple glowing barrier on the roof. Tenten looked at Naruto and asked, "What do we do?" Naruto was confused. He was worried about the old man because it looked like a lot of people were fighting over there. But Sakura's mom, Team 8's sensei, and even Sasuke were all at the hospital. It shouldn't have been hard to choose, but he couldn't shake the feeling in his gut that he would lose no matter what. We go to the hospital, help the Ambu out, and if necessary, help get the injured out, Naruto said, unable to stop the bile from rising in the back of his throat as he spoke. Both Tenten and Shikamaru nodded in agreement, but they both kept looking at the Hokage Tower. Let's move, Naruto said as he jumped back down from the roof into the alley. Sakura asked Naruto, "What's going on?" Because she didn't like the look on his face. The hospital is under attack, we're going, he said, quickly turning to lead the group. As they moved toward their goal, the group kept quiet. As they got closer, Naruto could almost feel their fear grow, especially since the sounds of fighting were getting louder all around them. We'll have to break through to get ahead, Hinata said. All the other points are heavily guarded, he said. The girl stopped in her tracks, looking surprised. There's a point. What does it say? Naruto asked, interested. She said, Byakugan's level has gone up by 1. What exactly does that mean? Your Byakugan got stronger today because you used it so much, Shikamaru said. Hinata was confused for a moment before she turned on her Dujutsu again and looked back at the hospital. There's a small group of 4 Chunin, I think. I can see a number next to each of their names now. It says 25 next to each of them. What does that mean? My genjutsu is also a sensor. It gives everyone a number value based on what I see. The same goes for you and your eyes. While my genjutsu is helping you, it can adapt to your skills. We can talk about this later. Shikamaru cut them off, trying to keep them from going even slower than they were. Right now, we need to focus on getting to the hospital and, if needed, evacuating it. Shikamaru is right. If you want, we can talk about it more later, but let's move on for now. Then Naruto pulled both of his chakrata, which turned on Futon Hin no Jutsu, right away. He started running again toward the 4 Atonin who were in the way. They were all looking toward the hospital and had no idea that his group was there, which saved them a lot of trouble. So, it was too easy, and he just ran right through the unprepared shinobi and killed 2 of them as he went. Choji hit one of them in the face with a big fist, which knocked him out. Then, without stopping, he cut the man's throat as he went by. To Naruto's right, Kiba and Akamaru used a well-timed and placed Gatsuga to kill the last Chunin. Naruto, on the left, Shikamaru said, pointing to a doorway that was open. It was to a bakery just across the street from the main entrance to the hospital. The inside was dark, but that was fine for what they needed. As Naruto and the rest of his team walked into the shop, a blue alert window popped up in front of them. This made Naruto unhappy. Hospital under siege. Invading shinobi from Otogakure have taken over the hospital. It's unclear why they did this, since robbing a hospital during an invasion doesn't make much sense. Recommended level, 30. Smallest team size, 10. Tenten pointed at the message on the window and asked, "What the hell is that?" Everyone else was reading the same message. Troublesome, Shikamaru grumbled. This is getting out of hand. Can you just accept that it's part of the genjutsu, and if you really need to know more, Naruto will explain it later? This is very suspicious, said Ino. Naruto's genjutsu couldn't know any of that, and Naruto couldn't know unless he was in on it. I am not part of the invasion, Naruto said right away. Of course you aren't, we all know that, but still. About a year ago, I woke up and my life had turned into a video game. I don't know why or how, but it did. It gives me quests with goals I could never have imagined. Whatever it is, I've done the best I can to use it to help Konoha and my friends. But he was in a tight spot. And his skill as a gamer just kept making things harder. He really just wanted his team to pay attention to the huge task they had to do. Kiba laughed out loud, "Ha, what a crock. Only you could come up with something so stupid. But whatever, man, you're still a loser. Let's just go in there and kick some ass." Shino's answer was pretty typical. I have more questions, but they can wait because there are more important things to talk about right now. Hinata just nodded to show that she agreed with her teammates. You'll have to tell me more later, but I'll follow you for now, Tenten said. Everyone finally looked to Ino. What? Don't look at me like that. I can't do anything else but follow you guys. Good, now that that's out of the way, can we focus on the hospital evacuation? Shikamaru asked, his voice filled with irritation. Inside, almost everything was broken. From the display cases in the front windows, there was broken glass everywhere. Inside, it didn't look like there was any fighting. Instead, it looked like there was just damage from the fighting outside. Shikamaru and Naruto both moved closer to the front of the shop to get a better look at the front of the hospital. We need more information, Shikamaru said as he rubbed his chin with one hand. Naruto turned around and looked at his group. Hinata, can you come up here? We need you to tell us how many guards are at the entrance to the hospital and, if possible, what rank they are. Hinata's Byakugan was turned on because the veins around her eyes got bigger. I see 2 guards just inside the entrance. They look like they are barely holding on, and there are a lot of bodies. One is level 31, and the other is level 26. She turned off her Byakugan and closed her eyes. Sakura asked, with worry in her voice, is there anyone else in the hospital? She said, I can see chakra signatures on the top floor, but I can't really see what's going on. Thank you, Hinata, said Shikamaru. You did good, he tried to tell the girl in a weak way. Naruto looked at the lobby and said, I think a few, shrapnel kanai, through the front door should do it. They'll know we're coming, Shikamaru answered. Anyone nearby will also hear about it. I know, and I'm counting on it. It should draw some of the forces inside back to the lobby, where we can set up an ambush, Naruto said. Waves? asked Shikamaru, giving Naruto a look. That's the idea, Naruto replied. He went back to the rest of his team. His friends to talk to everyone. Okay, so we're going to set off some explosives in the lobby to hopefully kill anyone there and to bring the shinobi from the upper floors down to us. This will probably lead to waves of shinobi attacking us in the lobby, and each wave will get harder to fight, either because there are more of them or because they are stronger. Ino asked, why would they keep coming if we just kill them? They might not, said Shikamaru. Then we'll have to get rid of them one floor at a time. It's going to be dangerous. I bet there will be a lot of Chunin and Genin in the opposition, but not many Junin. Probably just one, and he or she will be in charge. Tenten asked, why is there only one Junin? First, it would be a waste of resources to send more than one Junin inside after driving off all the Ambu that were protecting this place. Especially on a low-value target like the hospital, where sick and injured shinobi aren't much of a threat. This is especially true when they've already ransacked the emergency services area of the hospital. Second, the recommended level is 30, and most people at that level are Chunin or high-end Genin. Ha! What a joke, as if Naruto is that strong, Kiba laughed. Shino said to Kiba, Kiba, that's enough. If he hasn't already shown you, Naruto is the strongest of us. None of us would have had a chance against Gaara, but Naruto beat him easily and without any help from the rest of us. The rest of the group was surprised to see Shino correct Kiba. Even Kiba was surprised when a teammate of his talked to him in that way. In the end, Kiba frowned and crossed his arms because he was too proud to admit what was obvious. Shino nodded to show respect to Naruto and said, please go ahead, Kiba will do what you say. Thank you, Shino. That means a lot to me. Anyway, we have a plan, so let's make it happen. Then, each team member attached an explosive tag to a pair of kunai and threw them into the lobby across from the bakery. The next explosion was too big, blowing out the window 2 floors above the lobby and sending black smoke into the night air. Naruto was the first one to come in. He wore his goggles to protect his eyes from the smoke and to see if there were any chakra signatures left in the lobby. There was only one person left, a level 31 shinobi whose HP was less than half of what it used to be. It only took a few seconds to make sure that he had no more HP left. A moment later, Naruto used Futon, Kei's no Iki no Jutsu, to make just enough wind to blow the rest of the dust and smoke out of the lobby, so the other genin could see. Hinata, I need you to use your Byakugan to watch for shinobi coming down to us. Karen, keep your senses open to anyone coming from outside the hospital, Shikamaru told them. There is a huge hole outside the hospital, Karen said. Well, we can see things out there, but I can't pick up anything beyond the hospital. Does this have to do with your gamer ability, Naruto? I don't know, but it could be. Shikamaru quickly replied, it doesn't matter, Karen. Just do your best to warn us if that situation changes. They are coming, Hinata said. I can see a big group gathering by the stairs on the 2nd floor. Sakura asked, where are the patients? Hinata replied, they seem to be locked up on the top floor, and I can see Kurenai-sensei with them. It looks like she is in charge of the defense. Naruto said, first wave, as he heard footsteps coming down the stairs. Same formation, Naruto, Kiba, and Choji hit them first, and the rest of you clean up after. Sakura and Karen, do your best to heal us all, Shikamaru said, putting his hands together in the first hand seal he ever learned, which is the basis for all of his Kage Jutsu. Naruto made a worried face because they were in a very dangerous place. Naruto attacked the first shinobi who came out with Doden, Teppodama no Jutsu. The level 21 shinobi quickly lost all of his health, and a critical hit to the head killed him. But the shinobi who were coming didn't take that lying down. They quickly responded with a wall of fire that filled the hallway and moved quickly toward them. Nearly at the same time, Naruto and Choji built a wall of stones to block the fire. This stopped the fire, but the walls fell apart when several lightning bolts hit them. Naruto winced when one of the bolts hit him in the shoulder, taking away just over 600 HP. It didn't hurt him much, but it would hurt the rest of his team a lot. Lucky for him, the lightning stopped just as it went by him and Choji. Naruto looked at Choji and frowned. The fat young man looked like he had lost more than half of his HP, which meant he had been hit by more than one of those bolts. Sakura, heal Choji, ordered Shikamaru. Naruto, hit them back with a wind jutsu that has a wide area of effect. That should make the Raiden user back off. Naruto did just that, sending out 3 consecutive, futon, daitopa no jutsu. The shinobi on the other end of the technique were pushed back by the wind and got a little bit of minor damage. It did give the group a chance to see the first wave of shinobi. There were 2 level 30 and 4 level 24. As if they had both gotten the same message, both sides attacked. Naruto went after one of the level 30s and left the others to his team. "I'm going to kill you, brat," said Naruto's target, Masi, as his name appeared in blue letters above his head. "You can try," Naruto said, and he didn't hold back at all as he let a pair of futon, K's no Yeba no Jutsu, fly. With one, he completely missed, but with the other, he cut the man's arm off just below the shoulder. Masi took a step back in shock and stared at the missing limb. He didn't see Naruto get close to the man and stick a kunai under his chin and up into his head, killing him. Naruto pulled the kunai back out and let out a sad sigh. He then went to help Shikamaru right away. The shadow using Genin tried to strangle the other level 30 person, but the man, Goji, fought back well and kept going, trying to beat the shadows in strength. When Goji's head was hit with a fist, it distracted him just enough for Shikamaru's shadows to slither up to the man's neck, wrap around it like a noose, and tighten until he stopped breathing. When Naruto turned around, the rest of the first wave were already dead on the ground. Hinata warned, "The next wave is already coming." Same thing as before, but now they are all 1 level higher. "You heard her, let's go," Naruto said as he ran back to the hallway where the enemy was about to come out. Shinobi attacked in 3 more waves, but the team fought back just as hard as they had against the first wave. Hinata looked up at the floor with her Byakugan and asked, "What is that thing?" "What?" She said, "It's the last one, but I don't know what it is. It looks like a demon, and the chakra looks like it's sick or something." "It's level 32. Boss?" asked Shikamaru. "Hinata, is Atonin still on the top floor?" "Yes, but the leader doesn't have any sense," she said. "Is it a question mark or just blank?" asked Shikamaru. "Blank. This thing coming up now is a sub-boss," Shikamaru said as he took out a Hyrugan and swallowed it to replenish some of his chakra. "Naruto, use your clones to slow him down and check out what he can do. Everyone else, heal up as much as you can and mentally get ready for a real fight." Naruto made about 24 copies of himself and sent them up the stairs to start bothering the next thing. Now that the clones were gone, he sat down to take a break and use Raiden, Chakra Denka no Jutsu, to restore his own severely low chakra reserves, even though it hurt him a little. Naruto got some basic information from the first clone to die. Noroi LVL 32. HP. CP. When Orochimaru's curse seal doesn't work right on a person, most of them die after a lot of terrible pain and suffering. Once in a while, one of them makes it out alive and turns into something worse, like a walking curse. "It's a survivor of one of Orochimaru's experiments," Naruto told his friends. Ino asked, "How do you know that?" "My clone died when the beast's arm turned into a sword and cut it in half. The next 2 clones died when the same arm turned into a spiked ball and attacked them. I think this thing can change its form." Hinata watched through the ceiling as the clones slowed the thing down but didn't do much damage to it. "Its chakra looks unstable," she said. "Is it slow?" asked Shikamaru. "Unfortunately, no, it's not like the chakra rat abomination, and this thing seems smart." "Okay, that's a problem. We're going to have to try something different. Naruto and Choji, you both need to turn it away from us so we can attack its back. This also means you'll have to take turns keeping its attention so we can heal you as the fight goes on. Watch out for it to end any big attacks or area of effect. We need to get through this fight with as little damage as possible. Choji, do you want to go first?" "My taunt should make them angry right away," Naruto asked. "I can do that," Choji replied. Naruto held out a few of his Shosen Fuda and said, "Okay, I don't know how much damage this guy's hit will do, but take these and use them if you need to." Choji took them and put some on his arms so he could use them right away. He put the rest in his pouch. The arrival of the Noroi and its loud bellow stopped any more planning. It was bigger than a grown man, and its arms and legs had strange bulges of muscle. The skin is a strange shade of purple-red, which makes it look very evil. Its arms were both as long as it was tall, which gave it a lot of reach. Even though he was very big, his black pants looked like they were several sizes too big on his legs. Choji quickly got over being surprised or disgusted by the image of the beast. He grew his arms bigger and leapt forward, dropping a double hammer fist on the head of the thing, smashing it into the floor and breaking the tile below it. Naruto carefully watched the thing's health bar to see if the damage Choji had just done had hurt it at all. He was very upset that he couldn't even tell if he had hurt it. Choji moved around the beast so it was stuck between him and the rest of the group. He then hit the animal while it was on the ground. The beating stopped when the beast suddenly jumped forward and smashed Choji's chest and stomach with its misshapen head. Even though Choji's armor and Doden, Ishi no Hada no Jutsu, protected him from most of the damage, it still took almost a tenth of his HP. Shikamaru said with his hands making seals, "Everyone, start slow on the DPS. We want Choji to pay full attention." A moment later, he shot the creature with a small ball of fire. Luckily, the creature was only interested in Choji. With that, the group slowly began to take damage. Naruto, switch, Shikamaru told Naruto when Choji's health reached 50% or his maximum. Naruto made 4 copies of himself, and all of them used Futon, Kei's no Yeba no Jutsu at the same time. This did the first real damage to the Noroi and got Choji's full attention. Naruto used his taunt to get the jellyfish's attention. "Come at me, you overgrown experimental jellyfish wannabe," he said. He didn't get angry when he was teased, just like none of the bosses in the training fields did when they were teased. Armed with both chakrata, he blocked and deflected the Noroi's attacks and countered as best he could, but it seemed like the beast's hide was thicker on his chest because the attacks barely hurt him and didn't leave anything for a bleed effect. The animal suddenly roared and curled up into a ball. Its skin seemed to bubble and melt together all over. Then, without warning, it just sort of exploded, spraying yellow liquid everywhere. Sakura was the first person to get hit by the liquid. At first, it didn't hurt, but then it started to burn and ate into her arm, making her scream in pain. "Acid," Tenten yelled. "Use your kunai to scrape it off your skin. It won't get rid of all of it, but it should get most of it." The girl was the farthest away from the group. She was using her weapons to do as much damage as she could from a distance. She also managed to stay out of the acid bomb spray. Naruto didn't have time to do that, though, because the beast had already reformed and started attacking him again. The only thing he could do was flash the Kyuubi's cloak to burn off the acid and heal the damage. So that his team could heal, he had to keep the Noroi's attention on himself. "Karen, heal Sakura first, then make sure Choji's HP is full, because he's about to switch with Naruto. Then heal the rest of us. Also, if it does that acid bomb spray again, we all need to get back by Tenten to get out of range. Naruto and Choji, if you're in front of it, try using an earth wall to block the acid." Karen was able to heal Sakura's burns quickly, and then she and Sakura worked together to heal all of the other genin. "Okay, Choji, switch with Naruto," Shikamaru told Choji. Choji, on the other hand, frowned and didn't move. "How am I going to get it to pay attention to me instead of Naruto?" Naruto yelled, "You've heard me use taunt before, so do the same thing." It was clear he was getting tired and beat up. Choji made another frown. He didn't like to be mean to people because he had been treated badly too often. "Hey, Choji. I heard it say you're a fatso and that it was going to eat all your chips and make you watch," shouted Ino. The boy's frown was gone, and in its place was fire in his eyes. "Fat ass? Fat ass? Who the hell do you think you are? No one takes the last chip but me. I'll break you like a little stick if you try to take my chips, you 2-ton loser." The beast turned around quickly and attacked Choji. Choji easily blocked the attack and then hit it back with a big uppercut, smashing it into the ceiling and giving him a chance to switch places with Naruto. It also gave him a chance to close the pop-up message about learning a new skill. Ino also had to close a window for a new skill, Twisted Encouragement. Naruto had taken a lot of damage, so it took both Karen and Sakura to heal him. Even though they were trying to heal him, it didn't help that he was using Raiden, Chakra Denka no Jutsu. Its health is almost at half, so be ready for it to do something bad, Shikamaru warned. "What does it matter that I have half health?" asked Tenten. Shikamaru asked, "You've never really played video games, have you?" She said, "Nope, never," in reply. "Well, bosses like the Noroi they're like to try to screw over the group at important health points, like when that acid bomb sprayed when it was around 75% health," Shikamaru said. "Ah, I see," said Tenten as he took a trident out of its case and threw it across the room at Norio. The trident hit the creature's back and got stuck there, just like all the other weapons she and the others had put there, but it didn't slow it down at all. As expected, the beast roared again at 50%, but this time more mouths opened and screamed with it. Soon, the noise became too much for them, and the already broken glass in the room shattered even more, making it explode into the air around them. Then the sound got louder and higher again. Naruto tried to close his eyes to get rid of the pain in his head and the feeling of dizziness and sickness that was starting to take over. But it didn't help. Eventually, he tried covering his ears, but the damage was already done. When the screams stopped, half of his team was already unconscious, and he was barely able to stand. He looked and saw that Choji was down, so he attacked it to get its attention, but whatever it was doing seemed to be affecting it, too. Then I realized that the animal had no defenses at all, as it wobbled and could barely stand. He yelled as loud as he could, "Attack it with everything you've got." He wasn't sure if anyone heard him because he couldn't really hear himself. It has no defenses at all right now. Hinata was the first one to attack, which surprised Naruto. Her hands were on fire with chakra as her fingers cut into the Noroi's insides. When he saw that he wasn't doing anything, he attacked, just like Tenten and, to everyone's surprise, Ino. He saw Karen stumbling around, trying to get the rest of the team up and fighting, and healing damage wherever she could. He turned his attention back to the Norio and did as much damage as he could without hitting any of his teammates. He kept slicing the creature with his chakra 2 and wind blades, causing as much pain and damage as he could, until the creature let out one last roar, which was more of a death knell, and then fell to the ground without moving, its body quickly dissipating as any other chakra mutation would. He complained as he fell to the ground, still unable to hear his own groans or his teammates' cheers. It took the two healers a few minutes to get everyone well enough to hear again and talk about the next step. Naruto said, "Okay, let's go up the stairs and drive out the rest of the Itonin. First, we need to get as much health back as we can. We probably still have at least one more boss fight to go, along with all of his little minions." Hinata said, her, because she had forgotten where she was and to whom she was talking. Just that she was too tired to notice. "Hey, before that, this thing left stuff," Tenten said, bringing everyone's attention back to where the Noroi had died and started to break down. "Troublesome," groaned Shikamaru. "Okay, we need to make some rules about the stuff that fell. We don't have time to fight over it, so let me know if you want it. I'll tell Naruto who I think should get it, and that's the end of the story." "Why does he get to decide?" demanded Kiba. Shino stopped his teammate's argument by saying, "He's the leader because Kurenai-sensei made him the leader. Let's leave it at that." Naruto sighed. He didn't want the responsibility, but he was willing to do it for the sake of time. To begin with, we each have 25,000 ryo for beating him. When he gave them the neat stacks of cash, his friends were a little surprised. "Don't ask about the money. I don't really get it either, but I'm not going to complain. If any of you want to complain, though, I'll be happy to take your share. Now, for the first drop, we have a Hon no Noroi. Hon no Noroi. This weapon, made from the bones of the cursed, can change into any weapon the user wants by adding chakra. It needs to be level 28, does 100 to 150 damage, gives plus 50 S, R and plus 50 Dex, and costs 50 CP to change form. It lasts 200 turns." Tenten said, "I want," and her eyes twinkled in the creepiest way possible. "I could use that too," Kiba said. "I'm always looking for a good bone to play fetch with Akamaru." When he said that, a few people gave him blank looks and shook their heads. "I wouldn't mind it either, I could use a good weapon," Choji said, and it was clear that he really wanted one. Shikamaru said, "Sorry Choji, but I think Tenten should get it since it's her first time and she's a weapon master." "It's cool, don't worry about it," Choji said with a shrug. Next, we have Sanbikuden no Jutsu, a skill scroll. "It's an acid bomb skill," Naruto said as he turned the scroll in his hands. "Any requirements?" "I don't know. It won't tell me unless I try to learn it, and I still haven't learned that copy Fuinjutsu from Ero Sennin." "Alright, who wants it?" "Oh, hell yeah," Kiba said. "I could use that, hell yeah." Sakura said, "I could use some more offensive skills, which would go well with my poison mist technique." Naruto said, "I always want more jutsu, but I don't think that one works well with the way I fight." "I'd take it, but I've already got something epically awesome," said Tenten. "I'd like to learn it, too." Shino said, "I think it would work well if I could teach my bugs to make the acid on their own." Acid bugs, that's so cool. Give it to Shino, shouted Kiba. He could make that work for sure. Since Kiba has pulled out of the race, I'm more likely to agree that Shino should win. Shino took the scroll but stopped as soon as he had it in his hands. Thank you, he said. Can I really learn it this way? Click, accept, and find out, Naruto said with a big grin. Shino pressed the button, and when the scroll caught fire, he took a small step back. Interesting, very interesting, Shino said. So, have you really learned it? Asked Kiba. Shino made a few seals and then spit a yellow glob at one of the walls. When it hit the wall, it exploded into a spray of acid about half a meter wide. Not very strong, Kiba said. It's only level 1, and it will get stronger the more he uses it, Naruto said. Still, if that doesn't prove this gamer thing works, I don't know what will. Shikamaru told the group, we need to move faster, Naruto. We still have to get to the top floor. This brought everyone back to reality and brought them back to the task at hand. Right, sorry, Naruto said as he picked up the next item. Orochimaru's Juin notes, it's Fuinjutsu formulas. Since I'm the only one here who can use Fuinjutsu, does anyone mind if I keep these? That's not even up for debate, Shikamaru said. In fact, before you learn those, make sure you show them to the Hokage. Naruto agreed right away and opened his inventory to put the notes in. He was a little surprised to find a skill scroll in there. Somewhere, he found a futon, Rankuden no Jutsu, and, shrugging, he closed his inventory. Okay, last piece, Naruto said, picking up a small knife. It's called Juin's Enjingtu. Juin's Enjingtu. This scalpel was used to keep the Noroi alive during his creation. It is sharper than even the sharpest wind blade and can cut through even the thickest skin. Requires Irionin with beginner Enjingtu, skill or higher. Requires LV 28. Stats. 25 to 50 damage. Plus 100, int. Plus 25% healing to Iriojutsu. Dur 25/25. Karen and Sakura said, must have, and reached for the scalpel at the same time. I have to learn Iriojutsu right away, said Ino. Me too, said Hinata sadly. Shikamaru said, it's hard to say, but since this is Karen's first time with us, I give her the edge. Naruto really wanted to give it to Sakura because she was his teammate, but Shikamaru is right, that's why they gave Tenten the first piece of loot earlier. So, with a sigh and the knowledge that no matter what he did, he wouldn't win, he held out the scalpel to Karen, who gladly took it and held it close to her chest like it was something precious. Okay, that's loot. Let's move on. We still need to get the Itonin on the top floor out, Naruto told his team, which had had enough time to rest. The group went up the stairs to the top floor of the hospital as carefully and quietly as they could. They stopped only in front of the doors to the 5th floor. Hinata, what's on the other side? Shikamaru asked as the others did their last checks. There are only 6 Itonin left, and a lot of them are dead, she said. Kurenai-sensei's defense seems to have been very successful. Except that the 6 that are left are probably the strongest of them all, grumbled Shikamaru. What are their levels? 2 of them are level 25. 2 of them are level 30. 1 is level 35. The last one doesn't say what level it is, and I can now see question marks, she said. This is so hard, let's hope that Kurenai-sensei will join us when we attack. Besides their level, what else can you tell us about the shinobi on the other side of the door? Hinata frowned for a moment as she tried to figure out what these shinobi were good at. I see a bat hanging from the level 35's coat, so I think he uses high-pitched sounds, she said. She stopped talking when a new window popped up. It says I learned a new skill called Dujutsu Observe. That's good, because if you use the skill while looking at your opponent, it will tell you more about them. All you have to do to use Dujutsu Observe is think about it, Naruto said. Hinata gave a single nod and tried. First, there's Gozu. He's level 30, he likes Doton, but he's also very strong, so maybe Taijutsu as well. Next is Kagiri, who is level 30 and has a Kaiten affinity. He isn't very strong, but he is smart. Kiho is level 25, and it says that his affinity is unknown. Like Kagiri, he is smart, but he is very weak in other ways. Nurari has a water affinity and is very agile, but he doesn't have much else. Last is Renji, who is level 35 and uses a bat. His stats are pretty well balanced, and he has no real weakness. Okay, Choji, when we go in there, you're going to fight Gozu. You are with Choji, Tenten. I want Shino and Kiba to go after Kiho. Hinata and Karen, you get Nurari. If you're with me, Ino, we'll face Kagiri. So, Naruto, Sakura, and Renji are the only ones left. Is it smart to divide us up this way? Asked Ino. We have to, Shikamaru replied. We have to keep them apart. The weaker teams just have to keep their opponents busy. The better teams need to beat their opponents quickly and help the other teams. Hey, you never told us about the last guy, the question mark guy, Kiba said to get everyone's attention back on Hinata. Her name is Gurren, and that's all I know, she answered shyly. That's fine. As you get better at your new skill, you'll be able to find out more. Naruto tried to cheer her up by telling her, hell, you can already find out more than I can. Really? Yeah, all I get are stats, statuses, level, and a short description. Yours told you their affinity, which is kind of a big deal. I'm sure that as you get better with yours, it will tell you even more. Hinata's face turned bright red when she realized Naruto was cheering her on and that he thought she could get stronger. If she hadn't been in danger, she might have passed out. Thank you, Naruto-kun, she finally mumbled. Naruto smiled and nodded. It looked like he was finally getting to know Hinata now that she wasn't always sick. Are you all ready? Shikamaru looked at each of them and said, I know most of us still don't have much chakra, so use your skills carefully. Other than that, please don't die, it would be a pain. Naruto took one last deep breath to try to mentally prepare himself for what was on the other side of the door before he pushed it open. The hall was pretty wide open because the walls to the patient rooms on either side had been knocked down at some point during the attack. Gurren and her team were standing calmly, unaware of the group coming up behind them. For the last time, hand over the Uchiha, and maybe we'll let the rest of you live, Gurren shouted toward a barricade of turned-over hospital beds and medical equipment. And I'll tell you again, Kurenai replied, if you move one step closer, I'll kill the last Uchiha. Gurren snarled in anger. The battle was at a standstill, and she had already lost most of the troops Orochimaru had given her for this mission. No, Gurren-san, we have company, Renji said, pointing over his shoulder with his thumb. Use them as leverage, Gurren said with a cruel grin. Capture them, and maybe the girl in charge will be willing to trade the Uchiha. As you wish, Gurren-sama, Kagiri said, bowing formally and respectfully. The gas mask on his face made his voice a little harder to hear. Well, they know we're here, Naruto said, sighing a little at the trouble it would cause. Plan doesn't change, said Shikamaru. Choji, use your Nikuden Sensha no Jutsu to separate them, Naruto told him. He needed them to spread out. Choji pulled a string of weapons out of his pouch and wrapped it around himself. He then used his skill, which turned him into a giant ball covered in spiky weapons. It took him a second to get up to speed, but then he shot through the enemy group like a bullet, scattering all of them except for Gurren, who made a wall of pink crystal that Choji bounced off of and into the air. Even Naruto winced when Kiho's head hit one of the support pillars, knocking the man out of the fight and sending him straight to sleep. He was about to throw a kunai to kill the man when the same pink crystals that had protected Gurren earlier rose up around the downed Tonin. Shikamaru said, Okay, Shino and Kiba, I want you to work with Choji and Tenten on Gozu. He was changing his plans because knocking out that man was a surprise stroke of good luck. Before Shikamaru could give any more orders, Nurari, the Atonin with increased dexterity, attacked. He was wearing a skin-tight blue bodysuit that covered him from head to toe except for his face and a tuft of pink hair near the top of his forehead. In his attack, the man's body stretched and twisted at impossible angles, easily dodging any counterattack, not that it mattered as most of the groins were already dead. Something is on his body, Hinata said, using her Byakugan to find out more about the person who was fighting her and Karen. It's not chakra, Karen said, trying to keep her distance from Hinata, who was staying close. Hinata hit Nurari in the midsection with an open palm, but it did almost no damage because the liquid that covered the man stopped her chakra. When she pulled her hand back to avoid his counterattack, she saw that some of the same liquid that covered the man's body was now covering her hand, absorbing chakra. That is really gross, Karen said, trying to figure out who their opponent was just like Hinata was doing. It acts like a shield, absorbing both the impact and chakra from my attack, Hinata said as she cartwheeled away to avoid a series of knife-like cuts from her opponent's hands. So we need to attack his insides, Karen said, making a few quick hand seals that wrapped her hands in a white chakra. Hinata, do you think you can clear a patch of skin? I can try, but I don't know how long it will last, she said. Her body was starting to move more easily now that she knew Nurari's attack pattern. He didn't seem to be very creative, relying mostly on his taijutsu and ability to change shape. Finally, she saw an opening and struck, her hands flying in a blur into the man's right hip, splashing the liquid that covered him all over her hands but clearing a patch of his body. It only took Hinata a second to duck and roll away as Karen jumped in and slammed her hand into the area Hinata had just cleared. Gaw. Karen's hit cut through bone, muscle, and tendon, almost severing the man's leg at the hip internally. The Atonin tried to stumble away, but his leg was now completely limp and couldn't be used. Guren-sama, help me! He yelled, looking toward the still barricade leader. Karen, however, wasn't having any of it. She started another set of hand seals, and then her chakra pulsed slightly. This caused Nurari to freeze in place, his muscles tightening up and making it impossible for him to move. Genjutsu Shibari, worked, she said with a sly smile. Hinata pulled out a kunai and tried to move forward and kill Nurari, but another Atonin was encased in pink crystal just as he was about to die. Karen and Hinata both looked at the Junin, who was smiling and seemed to be having fun. We don't have time to waste, said Hinata as she quickly looked around the room to see how their teammates were doing against the different Atonin. It looks like Shikamaru and Ino are in trouble, said Karen. She only needed a simple nod from the shy heiress as she and her partner moved to try to help their fellow genin. At the same time, Naruto and Sakura were busy dealing with Renji, who used a bat. Gah, not again, Naruto groaned, holding his head as the man's ultrasonic attack hit his inner ear again and threw him off balance. He'd had another fight with the bat user. Naruto cut the man pretty deeply and kicked him away, but the damage he gave him in return was more than a little annoying. Sakura moved quickly to cover for her disoriented teammate. She blew out a large cloud of poison gas, which pushed the man further away and deeper into a series of rooms that were cut off from the rest of the hall where everyone else was fighting. This gave her a chance to heal Naruto. Stay still, she told him as the green chakra in her hands lit up. She put her hands on either side of his head for a moment to heal the damage that wasn't so obvious. Thanks, Sakura-chan, Naruto said. How the hell does he keep doing this to me? Ultrasonic is the only way. Huh? She said, a sound you can't hear is what makes your ears bleed. Good, so we can't hear him attack, any ideas? Naruto, she said with a frown, I need some mud. Naruto looked at her with puzzlement. Just do it, I have an idea, she said as she carefully watched the gas cloud to see if the Atonin would attack. Naruto shot at Doden. Teppodama no Jutsu, into the ground, cracking it just enough to make a basin for the mud. Sakura then took a handful of mud in each hand and slapped it over Naruto's ears, trying to get as much of it in there as she could. What in the world? Naruto yelled out loud. Sakura rolled her eyes, then did the same to herself. She then told him to stop yelling by moving her hand. What? Naruto yelled, looking very confused. Sakura let out a heavy sigh. She should have told Naruto about her plan first, but she couldn't let the bat guy hear it or it might not work. She reached into her pouch and pulled out a small medical notepad. She wrote a quick note and gave it to Naruto. Oh, he shouted, but she couldn't hear him. Sakura put the note and the pad away because she didn't want Renji to see the message. Naruto finally gave her a thumbs up before looking at the gone poison cloud in a very dark room in front of them. This time, it was his turn to roll his eyes. He reached into his pouch and pulled out a pair of kunai and explosive notes, just like Sakura did. After a quick 3 count, they threw the kunai into the dark room. The explosion lit up the room, knocked out part of the wall that was blocking their view, and kicked up dust. Unfortunately, there was no sign of Renji in the room, just a hole in the ceiling that led to the rooftop. Naruto pointed to the hole, and Sakura nodded. He was about halfway there when he realized that sticking his head out of that hole might be a quick way to die. Luckily, Naruto had an army of people willing to go through the hole first. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu was so useful. 10 clones formed as they formed a line to leave the building. The first 3 died instantly, but the 4th made it onto the roof just long enough to block a pair of kunai before dying. Thankfully, the death of the 4th clone allowed the next 3 to get out of the hole. 2 more clones died before all of the clones, Naruto and Sakura, made it onto the roof. Up on the roof, it was dark, and it looked like there was a haze of smoke in the air. The clouds also made it hard to see, which gave Renji a lot of an advantage. Naruto only saw the wave of bats coming at him and Sakura because of his gamer ability. Doden. Kabe no Jutsu, put up 2 solid stone walls in front of them, taking most of the damage and killing some of the bats when they hit. Renji, however, still took advantage of the situation. He moved in and cut the back of Naruto's leg, making it hard for him to move. Naruto naturally swung at his attacker, but the man had already disappeared into the darkness, so Naruto missed. When Sakura saw how hurt her friend was, she went to work right away to heal him so he could fight as much as he wanted, easily getting rid of the hobbled status effect. Renji frowned in the shadows and darkness. Every time he hurt one of the pair, the Irionen would heal them both as if they had never been hurt, and now it seemed like his sonic attacks weren't working either. When he looked closely at the 2 of them, he could see something covering their ears. It looked mostly like mud, since the blonde liked to fire mud bullets without caring about who they hurt or how much chakra they used. Fine, if that's how you brats want to play it, he said, not caring that they couldn't hear him. Being out in the open like this wasn't good, especially if any Ambu or Junin shinobi happened to pass by, which was unlikely given how intense the fighting was near the Hokage Tower, which was supposed to be a distraction so they could get in and out without anyone noticing, but that plan had already gone to hell. So he attacked again, but this time he was much more careless, and his bat friends did everything they could to help him fight better. Naruto moved quickly to get in the way of the Otonen's attack, which came out of nowhere and seemed desperate. Both of his arms went up to stop an axe kick, but then he had to drop his elbows to stop the man's roundhouse kick, which made him slide a little. Naruto drew his chakra to and used Futon, Hin no Jutsu, to fight back. He sliced at the man, occasionally nicking him but not doing much damage. Behind him, Sakura was spitting clouds of poison gas all around them, killing the horrible bats that were making their lives so hard and slowly taking away both of their health points. Renji finally went too far with a punch, and his foot slipped on one of the dead bats on the ground around him. This was because the girl was using a lot of poison mist. Renji felt it at that moment. Renji's eyes showed shock and surprise as Naruto's chakra to cut through the man's stomach and opened him up. Even though Renji fell backwards, he moved his arm right away to cover his stomach. He knew it wouldn't help much. He couldn't help but let out a small laugh of surprise and disbelief. 2 kids beat him, and they were so good that he couldn't believe it. They couldn't do anything else because the whole roof collapsed under them, sending all 3 shinobi back into the destroyed hospital. Naruto and Sakura tried to hold on to the roof as they fell through it and into the hall below. They slid across the roof as it fell apart and landed on the floor in front of their team. Even though the Konoha genin looked bad, they were all still alive and mostly standing. Shikamaru was the first to try to help Naruto and Sakura stand back up. Naruto looked at his team. They were all pretty low on chakra, and only a few of them had more than 50% health. This was better than their opponents, who were all covered in the pink crystal, even Renji. Then Naruto saw that Renji was no longer bleeding because his stomach had been cut open. He had stopped bleeding. Guren's crystal made sure that they all were. Naruto and Sakura quickly cleaned the mud off their faces and tried to get the mud out of their ears so they could hear what the woman was saying. Well, I never thought a bunch of kids would beat that Noroi and make it this far, let alone beat my team. I'm kind of impressed. Too bad I'm going to have to kill you all now. I can't let you grow up and become a threat to Orochimaru-sama, Guren said coldly as a pair of wicked-looking blue crystal blades formed along her forearms. The hell you will, someone said from behind the woman. Guren's eyes grew a little wider as she turned toward the noise and jumped back. The kunai was the first thing that could be seen, along with the trail of blood it left in the air as it cut through the side of Guren's neck. Then, an exhausted kunai began to waver into being. Guren grabbed her by the neck and wrapped it in crystal to stop the bleeding. This made it hard for her to fight though. She hissed, "You whore," and spat out a bit of blood. Guren then did a series of quick seals and shouted, "Shoten, Suishaheki Hachi no Jin." The only sign for the genin that something bad was about to happen was a slight shaking of the ground. Kurenai yelled, "Go back," as a warning. Then she turned and ran, trying to get as far away as she could. The genin did what he was told and then turned around and ran back down the stairs. It was scary as the crystal shot up from the floor into the night sky, sucking in everything it touched, including Guren and the Otonin who were frozen in place. As the genin entered the stairwell, they jumped down the first flight of stairs and even the second, just in case, to get some distance between them. Naruto let out a sigh of relief when the rumbling stopped, which meant the fight was over and, hopefully, the event was over as well. Think it's over? Asked Shikamaru. I sure as hell hope so, because I don't think I can do that again, Naruto grumbled. Hell, I think we're all pretty much dead on our feet at this point. Do you think they'll send us a bill for the damage? Kiba asked with a small smile. If they do, you're paying for it, mutt boy, said Ino. What? That worked, didn't it? That was a bit extreme, don't you think, Kiba, to bring down the whole roof to stop Gozu? Meh, he shook his head. We're still alive and he's not, so I'd say we won. So that's what happened to the roof, Sakura said as she tried to get some more mud out of her ear. Yeah, that guy Gozu was crazy. Nothing we did hurt him, because his body was made of mud. He just took in everything we threw at him, said Choji, the big boy sitting on the stairs and holding his side, where a nasty-looking gash was bleeding, but not enough to be life-threatening. I really wish I knew some Raiden Jutsu, Tenten grumbled as he leaned heavily against the wall of the stairwell. So everyone had fun? Naruto asked with a sly grin from ear to ear. He couldn't help but feel like they had all done something important here. You need a new definition of fun, Naruto-kun, Karen laughed. But it was fine, he said. Hinata, who was just as tired as the rest of them, said, it's been quiet for a while. Should we go up and see if we can get through the crystal to Kurenai-sensei? Yeah, let's go, Naruto said as he led the way up the stairs. He couldn't help but whistle in admiration of the huge crystal formation that had taken over almost the whole area that had been a war zone before. Does anyone know how we can get out of this? Asked Ino. Tenten pulled out her new toy right away and turned it into a big hammer. Stand back, I've got this, she said as she swung the huge maul back and then struck forward, hitting the crystal hard but not breaking it. She asked, what? Nothing? Not even a scratch? No, you might want to step back, Hinata told Anyo, pointing her Byakugan at the crystal and making it work. Then, there was a slight ringing sound, and the whole crystal structure started to shake. Then, all of a sudden, it exploded into a shower of tiny pink crystal pieces. When the dust settled, everything, even the genin, was covered in pink crystal dust. We never tell our sensei about this, Kiba said, and all the boys nodded in agreement. Don't say a word to Kakashi-sensei, Naruto told Sakura. She said, I would never, but she couldn't hide the smirk on her face or the small giggle that came next. Naruto knew he was doomed at that moment. Hey, they left stuff behind, no bodies, but stuff, Tenten said as he walked up to a small pile of goods covered by a few large crystals that didn't break when the rest of them did. Same as before, Naruto decides who gets what, Shikamaru said as he walked up to the pile. Fine, said Naruto, joining Shikamaru at the loot. First, money, 50,000 ryo each, enjoy you greedy people. The first thing Shikamaru gave Naruto was a green kimono top. He said, Guren's battle kimono, before he read the stats. Guren's battle kimono is a strong and stylish kimono made for battle. It is lined with high-quality chain mesh armor that even a futon-enhanced blade can't cut through. Requires female and LV30. Stats. Plus 250, def, plus 25, dex, plus 25, vit, dur 105 105ths. Okay, I can't use it yet, but that's all me, said Ino as she looked at the kimono with stars in her eyes. I'd like it, too, Hinata said in a soft voice. Me too, said Sakura and Karen in one voice. Shikamaru said, well, Sakura and Hinata are the ones who are closest to being able to use it, but... And I know this is selfish, but it would be a great way to get Ino to improve as a kunoichi. Sakura sighed. Shikamaru is right, Ino needs the push. Hinata, on the other hand, frowned. I don't think it would look good on Ino, though. She's more of a ninjutsu user, and that kimono looks better on a taijutsu user. From that point of view, I think it would look better on me. Okay, Hinata gets it, said Ino. That's the first time I've ever heard her speak up for herself about anything, and it's also the most she's ever said at once. Naruto gave Shikamaru a quick look, but all he did was shrug. He then gave it to Hinata, who seemed to be embarrassed that she had said what she had. Shikamaru then gave Naruto some chopsticks. Chopsticks? What the hell, Shika? Kiba asked. Kiba, on the other hand, was ignored by Naruto, who chose to watch them instead. Guren's hair made of crystal sticks. Guren's crystal hair sticks are more than meets the eye. They are stylish and useful. The perfect hidden weapons for any shinobi with long hair, these are both stylish and useful. Requires long hair and LV30. Stats. Plus 50 int and plus 50 whis, 50 to 75 damage, dur 25/25. I have long hair. I'm the only one here with long hair, and let's be honest, those will look great on me, said Ino. Naruto looked around, but no one seemed interested, so he was glad to give them to Ino. Shikamaru then gave up a scroll. Doden. Doro Nikutai no Jutsu? Hey, Choji, is that the mud body technique you were talking about? Yes, and since I had to fight that guy, I think I should get it first, said the fat shinobi, staring at the scroll as if he was still looking at the enemy. I could learn that, too, Kiba said, and this time he was serious. Yeah, I wouldn't mind that either, Naruto said. Shikamaru may have been biased toward Choji, but he did make a good point. He said, I have to go with Choji on this one. It's definitely a defensive technique, and after tonight, he could use some more skills to absorb damage. Choji it is then, Naruto said as he threw the scroll to him. Okay, so what's next? Shikamaru gave him the thing that was on Kiho's wrist when the fight started. Kiho's Bakugeki Ki, Naruto read aloud. Kiho's Bakugeki Ki is a device that uses chakra to launch bombs that can hurt or distract a large number of people. Requires LV30. It can carry up to 8 bombs and has a dur of 80/80ths. Ooh, Kiba and Tenten said together. I think this goes with it, Shikamaru said, handing Naruto a small booklet. Beginner Bakuhatsu. Just what we need, an expert on explosives, Naruto joked. Me, Kiba said with a smile. Pick me, I'm the best. Since Tenten already has something, I think Kiba should get this one. If he can learn to throw smoke bombs from it, he'll be more useful. Fine, said Tenten pouting. Naruto gave Kiba the wrist launcher and the book and said, here you go, Kiba. Have fun. Kiba's book caught fire and smoked before Naruto could get the next piece. Whoa, I know bombs, Naruto said. Hell yeah. When Naruto heard that, he couldn't help but feel a chill. It made him wonder if he had made the right choice. Shikamaru then gave Naruto a small box and gave him a small grin. Why are you making that face? Asked Naruto, who hadn't looked at what was given to him yet. Just look at what I gave you, said Shikamaru. He smiled and said, Kagiri's playing cards, that's cool. Kagiri's playing cards, 50 seconds, a standard deck of playing cards, or are they? These cards can be used in place of shuriken, and seals can be put on them so that all throw cards go back to the box when chakra is channeled into the box. Requires LV30. Stats. Plus 10 luck, plus 10% experience for underworld skills, 16 to 20 damage, ranged, dur 100/100ths. Okay, I want this, Naruto said. Shikamaru said, I wouldn't mind it either, but I think it would be best for you, especially with your bookmaking skill. Thank you, Shikamaru. Does anyone else want them? Asked Naruto. I wouldn't mind having them, but I've already gotten something, Tenten said. I haven't gotten anything yet, but shuriken bukijutsu isn't really my thing, so it's all yours, Sakura said. Thanks, guys. Alright, Shikamaru, what's left? Asked Naruto. Only 3 more things to deal with, Shikamaru said as he knelt down and picked up a black furry-looking thing that launched itself at him as soon as he touched it, wrapping itself tightly around his wrist. What the hell? He asked. He screamed as the thing bit into his arm. It's a bat, said Sakura. Renji must have had one. Get it off, Shikamaru said as he tried to pull the thing off, but then he stopped. What in the hell is a familiar, Naruto? Naruto couldn't help but have a small laugh. Really? That's pretty cool. A familiar is like a friend you can call to fight with you. I have 2 toad familiars, but I had to sign a contract to get them. It looks like this little guy chose you, so I guess he's yours. He's drinking my blood, Shikamaru complained. He's a little guy, he can't drink that much, Sakura said. Take a blood pill if you start to feel dizzy. Naruto got on his knees and took the last 2 things. One was a scroll, which he gave to Shikamaru right away. I think you'll need that for your new bat friend. It's a skill scroll for Komori Sichu that lets you control bats. Have fun. Shikamaru said, gee, thanks, as he tried and failed to get the little wingless rodent off of his arm. Alright, last one, Naruto said as he looked at the last scroll. Iryo notes of Orochimaru. Mine, said Sakura. After you show them to the Hokage, Shikamaru said, and he didn't disagree. I want them too, but I guess I don't need them since I already have something, Karen said as she lovingly stroked her new scalpel again, making the rest of the genin nervous. As soon as Naruto gave Sakura the notes, the doors at the other end of the hall opened, and Kurenai walked out. I'm glad you're all safe, but you were really stupid to come here, she said, both complimenting and scolding them at the same time. We didn't have much of a choice in the matter, Naruto said. Is everyone all right in there? A little scared and maybe a little hurt, but at least mostly alive. Is my mother inside there? No, she and most of the other patients were evacuated successfully as soon as the siege on the hospital started, said Kurenai. We need to get the rest of these patients out of here into the shelters. Sakura asked, with worry in her voice, is Sasuke okay? He's fine. The doctor had to put him to sleep so he wouldn't rush out to fight those Atonin. He might be mad when he wakes up, but at least he'll still be alive when it's all over. Great, then let's get these people into the evacuation tunnels under the hospital and to the shelters with everyone else, Naruto said, happy to have saved everyone but worried about the attack on the Hokage Tower. Kurenai nodded her agreement. Congratulations. Hospital under siege, a special event, is over. Your team and you each get 1 million express. Congratulations. Your level has gone up 1. Naruto would have sighed in relief and annoyance, but he was too tired to do more than finish the evacuation and get some much-needed rest. He knew he would have plenty of time to worry about his gamer stuff later. Status. Name: Uzumaki Naruto. The Gamer's Class. Genin, increases experience gain by 10%. Level: LV37 next level, 19.55%. Belongs to Konoha. HP: 8463 8463. CP: 5904 5904. Base plus bonus equals the total. STR: 134 plus 68 equals 202. VIT: 117 plus 359 equals 476. Dex: 134 plus 84 equals 218. Int: 107 plus 113 equals 220. Wis: 107 plus 108 equals 215. Luck: Def: 489 plus 122 equals 611. SPD: 99 plus 172 equals 271. HPR: 48 plus 114 equals 162. CPR: 21 plus 65 equals 86. Status: Uzumaki Clan Heir, plus 100 Vit, plus 100 Int, plus 150% experience to Fuinjutsu. Skill: Kyuubi Jinchuriki, plus 100 HP and plus 100 CP per level. Inspirational Leader, plus 25% to any team's experience gain. Kamikaze, 25% cost to Futon Jutsu, plus 20% damage to Futon Jutsu, prepared 24 hours 0 minutes and 0 seconds .00, plus 10% damage to SKU. Uzumaki Naruto was the last person to graduate this year. He got a low grade because he couldn't make a basic bunshin. After the test, Naruto showed his worth by stopping a traitor and learning 2A rank Kinjutsu. Now that his family is known, he has a lot to be proud of. He is the son of the Yondaime Hokage Namikaze Minato and the Nidaime Kyuubi Jinchuriki Uzumaki Kushina, which is a great legacy. But that doesn't answer the question of how the Kyuubi got away. Point 21. Ryo: 504,650. Loot drops during a hospital evacuation. Hon no Noro is a weapon made from the bones of the curse. By adding chakra, the user can change it into any weapon they want. Stats: 100 to 150 damage. Plus 50 STR and plus 50 Dex. To change form, it costs 50 CP. Doer 200 200ths. Sanbikuden no Jutsu, Skill Scroll. Skill Book, Orochimaru's Juin Notes. Juin's Enjingtu. This scalpel was used to keep the Noroi alive while Juin was making him. It is sharper than even the sharpest wind blade and can cut through even the toughest skin. Needs an Irionin with at least the beginner Enjingtu skill. Stats: 25 to 50 damage. Plus 100 int. Plus 25% healing to Iriojutsu. Dur 25/25. Gurren's battle kimono is a strong and stylish kimono made for battle. It is lined with high-quality chain mesh armor that even a futon-enhanced blade can't cut through. Requires female and LV30. Stats. Plus 250 Def, plus 25 Dex, plus 25 Vit, Dur 105/105. Gurren's crystal hair sticks are more than meets the eye. They are stylish and useful. The perfect hidden weapons for any shinobi with long hair, these are both stylish and useful. Requires long hair and LV30. Stats. Plus 50 Int and plus 50 Whis, 50 to 75 damage, Dur 25/25. Doden. Doro Nikutai no Jutsu, Skill Scroll. Kiho's Bakugeki Ki is a device that uses chakra to launch bombs that can hurt or distract a large number of people. Requires LV30. It can carry up to 8 bombs and has a Dur of 80/80ths. Beginner Bakuhatsu, Skillbook. Kagiri's playing cards, 50 seconds, a standard deck of cards, or are they? These cards can be used instead of shuriken, and they can be sealed so that they come back to the person who threw them. Requires LV30. Stats. Plus 10 luck, plus 10% experience to underworld skills, 16 to 20 range damage, 100/100 Dur. Komori, Familiar. Komori Sichu, Skill Scroll. Skillbook, Orochimaru's Irio Notes.
So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel for more awesome stories like this. Thank you. See you all in my next video.